Tucked away in Kingston, far from flashing cameras and tourist routes, Cornell Campbell's home is quiet, modest, and deliberately unremarkable. Cornell Campbell was never a Marley-style superstar, never a headline name, and never a man drawn to scandal or spotlight. Yet his falsetto helped define the sound of Rocksteady itself. This is the story of a voice that shaped an era and a life that chose silence over fame. To understand how that voice was formed, we have to go back to the very beginning of his journey. Born on November 23, 1945 in Kingston, Cornell Campbell, who prefers the spelling Cornell, came of age as Jamaican music was reinventing itself. Rhythm and blues still echoed through the streets, but ska was rising, faster and brighter, and the island's sound was finding its own identity. In Cornell's home, however, music began somewhere quieter. Raised in a devout Christian family, his first stage was the church choir. That's where the falsetto took shape, controlled, lifted, and disciplined. Guided by faith he would later describe as central to his life in Jesus Christ and Jehovah God. As a boy, Cornell didn't dream of fame. He wanted to be a mechanical engineer. He even enrolled in a distance learning course with Bennett College in England, studying late while Kingston slept. Financial reality ended that path, and music, already inside him, moved from background to purpose. At just 11, in 1956, a chance meeting changed everything. Trombonist Rico Rodriguez brought the young singer to Clement Coxsone Dodd's Studio One. There, Cornell recorded his first single, My Treasure. More recordings followed, Turn Down Date among them, as Jamaican music pivoted from R&B to ska, backed by the relentless energy of the Scatolites. He recorded sporadically through the late 1950s and early 1960s, sometimes solo, sometimes in harmony groups like the Bell Stars, absorbing the studio craft that would define his career. The mid-1960s were unsettled. Cornell joined bands, the Sensations, recording bright ska and emerging rocksteady like Every Day is Like a Holiday, and briefly, the Thrillers, where school friendships foreshadowed future producers. Then, almost abruptly, he slipped from the spotlight. Between 1964 and 1967, his presence thinned, a quiet disappearance common in an industry that moved fast and offered little security. He returned with purpose at the end of the decade, first with the Uniques, and then decisively as leader of the Eternals at Studio One. Here, the voice finally found its era. Songs like Queen of the Minstrels and Stars captured Rocksteady's emotional center, romantic, restrained, and unmistakably his. The falsetto wasn't decoration, it carried the melody like a promise kept. The 1970s deepened everything. In 1971, Cornell began a long relationship with producer Bunny Lee. The early focus leaned toward lovers rock, but roots soon followed. His self-titled album arrived in 1973, earning praise, and by the mid-1970s, he hit his peak with the flying hi-hat sound. Santa Davis's crisp rhythm lifting tracks like Natty Dread in a Greenwich Farm, Dance in a Greenwich Farm, and The Gorgon. These records didn't shout, they traveled across sound systems, across time. As styles shifted, Cornell adapted without chasing trends. He scored again in the early 1980s with Boxing for Joe Gibbs during the Rub-a-Dub era, recorded with producers like Winston Holness and Winston Riley, and leaned increasingly into love songs as the decade turned. Popularity ebbed, but the audience remained, faithful, informed, listening. There were returns and reunions too. The Uniques reforming with Jimmy Riley and Lloyd Charmers, later again in the 1990s, collaborations that kept his voice present even as the industry changed. In 2001, King in My Empire, produced by Rhythm and Sound, introduced Cornell's falsetto to a new generation, proof that restraint ages well. Through it all, Cornell Campbell never chased the spotlight. He followed conviction, craft, and faith, and built a life that mirrors that choice. To see how those values translate beyond music, we step next into the place where he lives them every day, house in Kingston, Jamaica. Cornell Campbell's home in Kingston doesn't announce itself. It doesn't rise behind towering gates or shout with marble excess. Instead, it sits with quiet confidence, much like the man himself. Step inside, and the first thing you notice isn't luxury, it's warmth. A sense that this house has been lived in, cared for, and shaped over time, rather than designed to impress strangers. The renovation respects the past. Exposed wooden beams stretch across the ceilings, not polished away, but preserved like musical notes that still matter decades later. Hardwood floors run throughout the home, carrying the soft marks of time rather than hiding them. Two fireplaces anchor the space, not as decoration, but as gathering points, places where stories are told, records are played, and evenings slow down. At the heart of the house is the dining kitchen, flooded with natural light. High ceilings give the room air and space to breathe. A large, central island anchors the room, topped with custom stone countertops and fitted with an integrated wine refrigerator. Functional, discreet, never flashy. The farmhouse sink, stainless steel appliances, and a wolf oven with gas stove speak to quality without excess. Custom cabinetry hides an integrated pantry, while a cozy gas fireplace quietly reminds you this is a place meant for long conversations, not quick meals. The living room feels almost meditative. A stone, wood-burning fireplace draws the eye, framed by exposed beams and built-in shelving that seems designed more for records and books than trophies. The room invites stillness. You can imagine Cornell sitting there, voice resting after a session, faith and music sharing the same silence. Privacy is woven into the layout. 3 self-contained bedrooms are spread across 3 levels, each offering its own sense of retreat. One upstairs, one on the main level, one below, ideal for family, visiting musicians, or simply solitude. Each space feels independent, as if the house understands the need for personal rhythm. Outside, the property continues its quiet conversation with nature. A closed vegetable garden reflects discipline and self-sufficiency. A wood storage shed sits nearby, practical and unassuming. Beneath the patio, ample storage is tucked away, unseen but useful, much like much of Cornell's career. The outdoor area is perfect for gathering, but equally suited for being alone, watching the day fade without an audience. And yet, a question lingers. With a career spanning decades and classics still echoing worldwide, how did a man who lived so modestly actually earn and manage his money? Income and net worth. There are no verified net worth figures, no flashy estimates, no Forbes-style breakdowns. His life in music was never designed to maximize profit. It was built to last. Like many Jamaican artists who came of age in the 1950s and 1960s, Campbell worked inside an industry that rarely protected its singers. Producers often controlled masters, publishing, and distribution, meaning royalties were inconsistent at best, and sometimes never arrived at all. Even with a catalog of more than 30 albums and timeless songs like Queen of the Minstrels, Stars, Natty Dread in a Greenwich Farm, and The Gorgon, financial rewards rarely matched cultural impact. Record sales and royalties formed the backbone of his income, but they came in waves rather than floods. Studio One recordings, sessions for Bunny Lee, Trojan releases, and later collaborations brought recognition more than wealth. Songwriting and publishing offered additional income, especially as his work was sampled, covered, or rediscovered by later generations of reggae, dub, and even electronic producers. But again, these were long-tail earnings, not instant payouts. Live performance became another steady pillar. While never a relentless touring act, Campbell continued to perform selectively. Festival appearances, heritage shows, and special concerts where his falsetto was treated with the reverence it deserved. These moments weren't about spectacle. They were about preservation, connection, and respect. And while the financial side of reggae history often tells a hard story, Cornell Campbell's real wealth lives somewhere else, in influence, integrity, and a legacy that never needed to be loud. And that quiet approach didn't stop at money. It extended into how he gave back, choosing purpose over publicity. Philanthropy. There are no headline-grabbing donations or carefully staged photo ops, just consistent, quiet support directed toward people who need it most. Over the years, Campbell has shown concern for issues that deeply affect everyday life in Jamaica: poverty, education, health, and disaster recovery. These priorities reflect both his Christian upbringing and his long-standing connection to local communities rather than international spotlight causes. He has been linked to organizations such as American Friends of Jamaica, AFJ, which focuses on education, healthcare, economic development, and disaster relief. AFJ is especially active in post-cyclone recovery efforts, working with local partners to rebuild homes, schools, and infrastructure after natural disasters, an ongoing reality in the Caribbean. Campbell has also supported causes aligned with the Jamaican Red Cross, an organization central to emergency response on the island. From hurricane shelters to volunteer mobilization and community health programs, the Red Cross plays a vital role during national crises, and Campbell's support reflects an understanding of that frontline importance. In addition, initiatives like Children's First, which works to empower underprivileged children through education and family support, mirror his belief in long-term impact rather than short-term fixes. UNICEF Jamaica, with its focus on child welfare, education, and health, aligns naturally with the same values. What stands out is not the scale of giving, but the consistency. Campbell's philanthropy is woven into his daily life, supporting community, faith, and resilience without needing recognition. That same discretion carries over into how he lives, loves, and protects his personal world. Personal life. While many artists of his era allowed their personal lives to blur into their public image, Campbell chose the opposite path. He built clear boundaries, keeping family matters, relationships, and domestic life firmly out of view. There is no publicly confirmed information regarding his marriage or romantic relationships. Interviews over the years, including a well-known 2010 conversation with United Reggae, have focused almost entirely on his faith, music, and the practical realities of sustaining a life outside an unpredictable music industry. When he speaks about himself, it is usually through values, not details. Raised in a devout Christian household, Campbell has repeatedly emphasized faith as his anchor. Christianity shaped not only his music, but also his personal discipline and lifestyle choices. Rather than relying solely on recording income, he pursued quiet, practical ventures to support himself, running a chicken farm, operating a clothing business, and investing in land. These were not side hustles for publicity, but necessities rooted in independence and self-reliance. Today, he continues to live in Jamaica, away from the noise of global fame. No social media theatrics, no public reinvention, just a man who chose to let his voice speak loudly, while his life remained intentionally quiet. Thank you for staying with us until the very end of this journey into a life shaped by music, faith, and quiet choices. If you enjoyed this deeper look, please like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your support helps us keep telling these stories with care and respect. Until next time, thank you for watching and for listening beyond the spotlight.